I got kicked out of Habibti's. After being there for almost 3 hours, one of the workers came up to me and said, "You can't have your laptops out on weekends."
What world are you living in where it's not okay for someone to sit down at a cafe and read a book? What world are you living in where it's not okay for a high schooler to sit down?
Like that. Why would you sit in a small cafe for that long period of time and then you're going to do a bad review? I think that was so.
We don't have to put everything on social media, because even when we are wrong, we don't seem to notice that we are wrong. I don't know if some people are just blatantly oblivious or choose to be just clueless. I don't know which one it is. Or because this lady came online to tell us that she went to a coffee shop and she bought some coffee, and she decided to put up her laptop and sat there and do some work on her computer. One of the workers came to tell her that she had to leave, they need a seat for someone else. Mind you, this lady was sitting in that coffee shop for 3 hours. 3 hours in the
I got
coffee
kicked
shop.
out of Habibti's. After being there for almost 3 hours, one of the workers came up to me and said, "You can't have your laptops out on weekends."
So this is a small business with maybe 15 seats, and despite being at full capacity, they let her sit there for 30% of their operating hours before asking her to leave so they could turn the table over. And what does she do? She tags the cafe, throws the staff under the bus, and proceeds to call their food nasty and overpriced.
$25 for an iced coffee that was this big, not even, and a nasty Danish is expensive.
She goes on to defend her actions by saying that she was just looking for a place to work. Newsflash, buddy, why don't you try the New York Public Library instead of a small business trying to survive off razor-thin profit margins? Anyways, go support Café Habibti. They are a Muslim woman-owned cafe in Soho, and I will be stopping by in the next few weeks without my laptop.
After reading the comments on my last video, it's clear to me that some of you are missing the point and you just weren't listening. It's insane how unheard of it is to some people that coffee shops are places that people like to study or do work. People commenting that they don't want to go to coffee shops and be consumed by people like me working on my laptop doesn't even make sense. Quite honestly, everyone does not have the privilege to unplug, and we all cannot afford co-working spaces. And I think $25 for an iced coffee that was this big, not even, and a nasty Danish is expensive. So my point, and a lot of other people's point, is that 1, the laptop policy should have been clearly stated. 2, you shouldn't have waited. And 3, I have no problem with the policy. Had I known, I would have spent my money somewhere else and sat there for 3 hours, however long I felt like, and got my work done. So do you get it now or no?
2 days ago, I posted about an influencer who claimed she was kicked out of a New York City cafe and charged $25 for coffee and what she called a nasty pastry. And since that video, she has doubled down on her claims, so I thought that I would visit the cafe myself to do some fact-checking. So come with me to Soho! So her first complaint is that the cafe supposedly has no warning about a laptop policy. Well, lo and behold, this sign, which sits 6 inches away from where you pay. And even then, this tiny cafe let her occupy this gigantic table for 3 hours. And as for that $25 order, here's their menu, where the most expensive combination gets you to maybe $15. Anyways, I got this coconut shaken espresso and gigantic buttery flaky chocolate croissant for like $12, and they were absolutely delicious.
What world are you living in where it's not okay for someone to sit down at a cafe and read a book? What world are you living in where it's not okay for a high schooler to sit down at a coffee shop and do their homework? What world are you living in where someone can't sit down on their laptop and write a blog post in a cafe? People literally sit down in coffee shops and write novels. Like, that's a trope that people have been doing for like decades. Where are you guys mentally? Capitalistic brainwash that you think it's strange for someone to sit down and get some work done at a coffee shop. That's normal. You're the freaks.
Capacity, because if you really want to do work on your computer, you could have went to the library, or you could have went to a cafe that provides that type of setting that you could sit with your laptop, because they have settings like that. They have free Wi-Fi service. You see people there with their laptops doing work and stuff like that. Why would you sit in a small cafe for that long period of time and then you're going to do a bad review? I think that was so wrong on all many levels. Like, really? And then you want somebody to agree with you, but baby, we're not agreeing with you. You was in that cafe for 3 hours. 3 hours doing work. You just could have you should have just packed your things and left. But no, you want to go and make a bad review about the cafe because you upset, and that's wrong. That is so wrong. Next time you should go to the library. Y'all have a lot of libraries where you are in New York. You could have went to a library and you wouldn't have had this issue. Period.
This is for my girl who went to the cafe to study. Cafes are for studying. You are not wrong. Everybody in the comments are acting so dense, like go to a library. Libraries close earlier than cafes. And even so, she was there on a weekend. So libraries have different times. And then to top it all, she's only in the city for the weekend. So I'm going to go find a library, find the time. Probably can't go in a library if you don't have a library card, because you got to know the rules for each state. And she doesn't live there. So I'm going to go to a cafe naturally. Then another creator trying to defend the cafe with a written sign after the fact. You telling me that cafe so aesthetically pleasing? Somebody just handwritten, no laptops on these days. It's handwritten. But everything else so aesthetically pleasing. It goes with the theme, but you couldn't type and print out the sign and laminate it, nothing.
And I just like to say, one, I'm not from the city originally. I grew up, born and raised, spent all my life in the South and Midwest, between Texas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. So this weekend, I did a similar thing. I was at 2 coffee shops, and I spent probably close to 4 hours at each one, Saturday and Sunday, from 2 to 4-ish, right? I am so grateful that I did not get kicked out. Because clearly from the video and from the basic research I've done, this is something standard in New York City, that a lot of these coffee shops are not really worker friendly per se. And I think, and maybe it's a regional thing, that I feel like being from the South and Midwest, most of us were used to coffee shops being like that. Like, I know when I was in school, it'd be me and at least 10 of us from my school that we would go to the Starbucks right there, and people would camp out the whole day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and they would take up the whole long table. And that was the norm. It wasn't just people from our school who did that, a lot of different schools. And the Starbucks workers there, actually, they didn't have an issue. They didn't mind. And granted, that is a chain, so it's a lot different than these smaller chains, but I think they also did that at smaller chains where we were, right? And so I do think, like, reading it, I'm not saying this is, unfair or unreasonable. I get it now. I understand it. But I just wanted to bring context to why maybe somebody like her, I don't know where she's from. I didn't really look into her, her page much. But please, I already know people from the city, you guys don't like us transplants. Y'all don't like people who are not from here coming here. I'm sorry, I beg. Take mercy on us. But I just wanted to shed light on why she probably didn't know and why she was probably so surprised. Because honestly, until I watched that video, I was surprised. Like, I've heard and I've already seen signs of coffee shops being like, this is a no laptop area. Literally, the coffee shop I went to, it's a no laptop area. And then it was like coffee shop during the day, wine bar at night. So when they started turning off the lights, bringing out the candles, I was like, honestly, I wanted to feel annoyed, like, they're not gonna kick me out. But I'm like, I get it, right? This is a wine bar. I need to respect their space and their establishment. And I also get it, and I hear it, and I understand it now, that people are saying, like, well, these are small businesses, and if there's too many people staying there for such long periods, then new customers can't come and see. But I guess just to give her another, like, inch of whatever, she did buy $25 worth of things. Like, she didn't go and not buy anything. I've heard of that. I've heard of people, especially coming to the city, they'll go sit, do work, and not buy anything. So it's like she was patronizing, she was contributing to their economy, their own sales. So I can hear that part. But I my closing statement is, please forgive us. Forgive any transplant that you see that does that. We did not know. I did not know it was such big of a deal until I saw all the comments on that page and several other videos about that. Please, I beg, have mercy.
You probably went to that coffee shop because you saw the aesthetic. The aesthetic was pleasing. It was nice. It was beautiful. You wanted to create some content in there for your Instagram or for your TikTok. You sat there for 3 hours, not because you wanted to do some work or you wanted some quiet time or you wanted to use the internet. You sat there for 3 hours because you liked the aesthetic of the coffee shop and you wanted to shoot some content in there. That's why you sat there for 3 hours. I think that's why they kick you out of that coffee shop. If you actually really wanted to do work that bad and you needed that space to do work, or you needed the quietness or the internet to do work on your computer, you would have went to the library. Just like everyone else that want to do work, want to study, want to do whatever. Girl, go to the library. They even have private rooms. You can just take one of those private rooms by yourself and stay there the whole day as long as you want until the library close. You know, no one is gonna come in there and kick you out. Library is always the option, and it's free, and Wi-Fi is faster. You know, and it's actually safe. The Wi-Fi in the library is probably safer than the coffee shop. So you're wrong for this one. But let me know what you think about this story down in the comment section below. Thank you for watching, and I will see you all in my next video.